your support, for all you've done for Wilson County. And I know that you're mad at me for taking Wilson County from you right now, but I know we're going to work together, and we're going to make sure that Wilson County continues to do great. And so thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And to all my House colleagues that are here, thank you all for being here. You're my family, you're my friends, and it means a lot to me that y'all are here. And of course, I'm absolutely grateful today as I make this announcement for the unconditional support of my wife, Belinda, my best friend. Belinda and I were high school sweethearts, and we graduated Texas A&M together. We're blessed to have our two young daughters, Cinco and Viva, who couldn't be here today. They wanted to be here, but they said, "Dad, we have school," and they said we better not go. And so I'm really glad that they picked school over this. Yeah, that's great.
Hi there, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us here on KXAN Live. I'm Will Dupree, coming to you from the KXAN Live studio. We've been listening to a news conference that's happening in Floresville, not too far outside San Antonio. State Representative Ryan Guillen, who is a Democrat here in the state, is holding a news conference alongside Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Texas House Speaker Dade Phelan. We are anticipating that Governor Abbott may comment about Beto O'Rourke officially joining the race for governor next year. But let's listen in as this news conference is underway in Floresville.
My stepdad died in a car accident at a young age. I had to grow up quickly. I followed in my family's footsteps. I became an ag teacher. And then at age 24, I ran for the legislature. And somehow I won. And since then, I've worked hard to serve the people of South Texas and to try to make a difference in the short time that we have here on earth. Over the years, I've worked to cut taxes, to create jobs, to protect our oil field jobs, to support our troops and our law enforcement, and to secure the border, to defend our property rights, our Second Amendment rights, and to defend the lives of the unborn. Growing up in South Texas, I grew up among Democrats. I ran for office as a Democrat. And just last year, I won re-election as a Democrat by a 17-point margin, while at the same time, President Trump won the district by 13 points. But friends, something is happening in South Texas, and many of us are waking up to the fact that the values of those in Washington, D.C. are not our values, are not the values of most Texans, certainly not the values of South Texas. The ideology of defunding the police, of destroying the oil and gas industry, and of the chaos at our border is disastrous for those of us who live here in South Texas. That's why, after much thought and much prayer with my family, today I'm announcing that I'll proudly be running as a Republican to represent House District 31. After years of voting to protect the Second Amendment, after years of voting to protect the unborn and against tax increases and to secure the border, I now look forward to not having to break with my party in order to do so. In the weeks and months ahead, I look forward to talking to each one of you in this 11-county district about our shared values and to humbly ask for your support. Again, thank you all for being here today. It means the world to me and my wife and my family. I do not do this lightly, but I know that this is the right decision. Thanks again, and God bless y'all.
Is it's now an honor of mine to introduce the governor of Texas, who he and I, well, two things we share in common. One, after 5 straight losses from the University of Texas, we needed some good news, right? And today really helps with those 5 straight losses. So with that being said, he actually suffered those losses on his birthday, by the way. So, yeah, I know. But something else we have in common is we are ready, willing, and able to travel to every corner of this state to grow the Republican Party like we're doing today in Floresville, Texas. And it starts with Ryan Guillen, and who knows where it ends, right? But this governor right here has gone through maybe the most difficult 2 years any governor has gone through in the history of the state of Texas, and he's made decisions that none of us want to think about making, right? But here he is, strong as ever, and growing the Republican Party. Thank you, Governor Abbott.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Speaker, and I'm here for one primary reason, and that is to say, Ryan Guillen, welcome to the Republican Party of Texas. It's great to be back in Wilson County. Many of you here whose faces I cannot see because of the people up front, you will remember that I was here in Wilson County for your Lincoln Day dinner a few months ago. One thing that I know, Wilson County is going to step up and do their part to keep Texas red. As you heard Ryan Guillen talking about why it is that he's changing and announcing today that he is a Republican state representative effective today, is because of all of those ideas and values that he articulated. You heard him, and he has always sought to cut property taxes and to cut the stranglehold of red tape and regulations in the state of Texas. He has defended private property rights. He has created more jobs and fought for ideas and values that will lead to that job creation, including jobs in the great paying oil and gas sector in the Lone Star State. Something else that Representative Guillen alluded to that we must emphasize today, and that is there is a big political change that's taking place in South Texas. It's a change ushered in part by the far leftist socialistic moves that are being made by Democrats in South Texas. The Democrats no longer represent either the values of the people or the values of the Hispanic community in South Texas. It is time for a Republican to represent the real values of the people of South Texas. You know, if you look at what was announced today, it may seem like it is something that occurred today. But this is something that has been a movement that's taken place for a decade for now, and is something that has been candidly the worst kept secret in the Capitol. Everybody has known that Ryan Guillen is really a Republican who is attached to the wrong label. Ryan, we're glad you finally came out of the closet. But I want to show everybody here to let you know the way that things are changing. And so this is an important day, but it's just the latest chapter and the changes that we've seen. It was back in 2012 when we had J.M. Lozano. Where's J.M.? Thought he was going to be here. So we had J.M. Lozano in 2012 announced that he was switching parties from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party. And he has ran as a solid Republican and won as a solid Republican ever since, expanding the Republican footprint in South Texas. We do have with us today, however, we have with us Representative John Lujan. John Lujan first won office in a Democrat district in 2016 to the Texas House of Representatives. He later lost that race, but just a few weeks ago, he won that seat again, a Democrat seat where they voted a Republican back into the Texas House of Representatives. And then we have also Pete Flores. Is Pete with us here today? There he is back there. Come on up here a little bit. Make sure people see you here. So Pete Flores did the exact same thing. It was back in 2018 when Pete Flores first ran for a Senate seat in the state of Texas that, am I correct to say, it had never in Texas history been held by a Republican before you. Is that correct? Since the Civil War, had never been held by a Republican. Pete Flores ran in that seat in the western part of San Antonio. It goes all the way down to the border and has more border mileage than any other state Senate seat in the state of Texas. A Republican, Pete Flores, won that race. He is back on the ballot again this year. He will win it again and turn that seat into a Republican seat here in the Lone Star State. But if you would bear with me, I want to share with you some astonishing details, some astonishing facts that show the shift that we are seeing in South Texas. Because I have with me a list of the 10 biggest Republican swings in blue counties during the time period from 2016 to 2020. So over the past 4 years, there have been massive swings in blue counties across America. These counties I'm talking about are the top 10 counties in the United States of America where you had a massive swing from Democrat to Republican. Number one in the United States of America is Starr County, where there was a 55 percent point swing in favor of Republicans from 2016 to 2020. Next is Maverick County that had a 45% Republican swing. Next is Jim Hall County with a 39% Republican swing. Then Duval County with a 33% Republican swing. Brooks County with a 32% Republican swing. Webb County, the home of Laredo, with a 28% Republican swing. Zavala County with a 26 Republican swing, and Zavala County was also a county won by President Trump in the last election. And then Willacy County with a 25% Republican swing. Hidalgo County with a 23% Republican swing. So those are 9 of the top 10 counties in the United States that shifted, on blue counties that shifted with massive Republican gains. I'll dip down to number 12, which was Cameron County, that saw a Republican swing of 19%. The reason for these changes are abundantly clear, and they were articulated by Ryan Guillen earlier. And that's because Democrats no longer represent the values of the Hispanic communities in South Texas. He talked about things such as the idiotic defund the police strategies that the Democrats are trying to impose here in Texas and the United States of America. Republicans support our law enforcement officers, period. Ryan Guillen talked about the value and the importance of oil and gas jobs. They are good paying jobs for so many people in the state, and Republicans will not allow the leftist Democrats to crush the oil and gas industry in Texas and replace it with the Green New Deal. We talked about the chaos that we've seen arise from the open border policies that Democrats, including people like Beto, have been advancing in the state. One thing about Republicans, we support legal immigration into the United States. We do not support lawless and reckless open border policies. We will not tolerate that, and Texas will step up and secure our border. Something else about the Hispanic community, especially in South Texas. We know in the hearts of Hispanics is an entrepreneurial spirit. You see that with Allen in this store right here, but you see it in stores that are owned and operated by Hispanics from here in Wilson County all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley. And that is why you see Hispanics in particular rebelling against this attempt by the Democrats to impose socialism in our state and in our country. Texas is the quintessential entrepreneurial state. Texas is #1 in the United States for doing business. And we will tell the world what the Democrat socialists will not. And that is, it has been capitalism in Texas and the United States that has lifted more people out of poverty, given more people opportunity than all of the socialistic programs combined, and we will not allow the Democrat socialists to destroy Texas or the United States of America. For the past 10 years, there has been a slogan by the Democrats. A slogan that I will submit to you has turned out to be true. The Democrats have sworn every election cycle that demographics are destiny. And what they meant by that is the growing Hispanic population in the state of Texas would lead to the destiny of the future of politics in the state. For that much, they are right. However, they were wrong thinking that the demographic change would lead to a benefit for the Democrat Party. They misread the hearts, the souls, the minds, the vision, the desire, and the future sought by the Hispanic community. The values of the Hispanic community are tied and closely connected to the Republican Party, not the Democrat Party, and the future of the state of Texas will be that Republican Party with a growing number of Hispanics joining the Republican Party. The people of South Texas, they deserve people in the state capitol who will represent their values. Ryan Guillen represents their values, and that is exactly why he was correct to today announce he is a member of the Republican Party of Texas. Thank you all, God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate you being here and this wonderful remarks. I want to remind the audience as well that in 2011, we had two other folks switch parties, Mr. Pena and Mr. Ritter, my predecessor, and Alan Ritter was my predecessor. I represent a border community too. It just happens to be Louisiana. They're a different country. They speak a different language. They have different laws. But truthfully, I was the first non-incumbent to win House District 21 since Reconstruction as well. And now that district is over 80% Republican. So it's happening across the state of Texas. We're seeing communities embrace conservative values in the Republican Party. And Mr. Lujan will be sworn in tomorrow at noon, the new representative from Bexar County who flipped the seat and will keep that seat as long as he wants it, as long as his wife lets him have it. At least that's the rule in my house. And we're not going to cede any ground to the Democratic Party. The gains we made today and tomorrow, we're going to keep them. And we are going to grow this caucus. We're going to grow this majority. And Ryan Guillen's re-election is my #1 priority. This is important as non-re-election. So he will be back representing Wilson County and the rest of his district for as long as his wife lets him do it. So thank you all for being here. I want to welcome Ryan Guillen to the Republican Party one more time. Let's give him a big round of applause and his family. No one's ever chanted my name. That's a good start. And he even has signs there. I haven't even got my signs printed up. I need to get on that. With that, I'll take a few questions. I think ideally we'll start with the Wilson Daily News. Wilson Daily News here. The question? Or not? All right, Mr. Spitzak.
Yeah, question for Representative Guillen.
Sure.
Can you just talk a little more about the role redistricting played in this? Obviously, your critics today are going to say you're just doing this because the district got much more Republicans, even though you did outperform Trump, so overwhelmingly last cycle. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, exactly. I won re-election as a Democrat in 2020 by 17 points. At the same time, Trump won by 13. And so I think that's indicative of the fact that what we're doing here is doing what is aligned with our values. Obviously, the values that I hold dear, that I've always held dear, align better with the Republican Party, and that's what we're doing here.
And Patrick, I'll add to that. I discussed this with Ron months ago, as soon as session was over, early this summer. Before census numbers came out, before we had any idea what the districts would look like, we discussed this, and people have been working on Ryan for several years. It's the worst kept secret in Austin that folks have been trying to get Ryan to come over to the Republican Party. So I don't think redistricting had as much to do with it as many might think. Yes, sir.
Again, you said that there's a shift going on in South Texas. How long has this been going on? How quickly has it been sped up in recent years?
It's been going on for a while. I mean, if you look at trends over the last 10 years or so, 10, 12 years, you can see a direct trend. But of course, it got a lot more sped up in the last couple of years.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you gave the Wilson County News a bit of a promotion when I was Wilson Daily, Wilson County.
Okay.
And we do welcome you all here, including Representative Guillen and the governor, and thank you for coming to Floresville.
You got it. I'll remind you that Ronald Reagan, Phil Graham, and Rick Perry all switched parties at one point in their career, and they did pretty well. So Ron's in good company. So thank y'all for welcoming.
Mr. Speaker, a question for Ryan, then one for you. Ryan, this is from Steve Penman. GOP dominates the leadership in Texas, including the governor, the House, and the Senate. Do you feel that being in the majority, being part of the party which controls the purse strings in particular, you can now bring home resources and funding back to your border constituents?
Of course, of course. No question about it. I think there's a big saying that if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu, and I think this helps me be at the table.
Mr. Speaker, as a follow-up to that, the obvious segue to the 80th Texas legislative session, Ryan won the vice chair appropriation. That's the talk. Would you agree to his constituents here today that you would make him, return him the vice chair of appropriation?
It's an excellent question and a highly illegal question, so I cannot promise any of that, but let me just say that Ryan's always been productive for his district. No matter what community he's represented, he's always been productive, regardless of the party he's been a part of. He's well respected on both sides of the aisle. Again, he's a bill-passing machine. And I can't tell you how many times I laid out a bill by Ryan Guillen today on this session on the House floor. Maybe do one today. We're not even in session. Maybe lay out a few bills today. But that's how productive he is. So regardless of the party he's been associated with for the last 2 decades, he's been impactful and effective, and he will continue to do so. So, last question. Yes, ma'am.
Governor, we did want to hear your thoughts on the announcement this morning from Beto O'Rourke.
You know, we talked earlier about the values the Texans share. And if you look at issue after issue after issue that Beto campaigned on for the presidency of the United States, they weren't just at odds with Texans. They were hostile to Texans. He wants to go, take your guns and deny you your Second Amendment rights. We will not let that happen in the state of Texas. He stands for these open border policies that have led to nothing but chaos. If Beto were to be elected governor in the state of Texas, there would be no one standing up securing our border like what I'm doing every single day. If you look at the very meaningful oil and gas jobs that put food on the table, that help families pay their bills and provide a better life for those families, Beto wants to kill those oil and gas jobs and put them out of business, denying a paycheck for tens of thousands of Texas families. But worst of all, very profoundly, during his campaign for the presidency, he showed that he really was not so much a Democrat as he was a socialist. He is a part of the Ocasio-Cortez wing of the Democrat Party, and that is hostile to the state of Texas. I welcome the challenge. I look forward to working with the people of Wilson County to make sure Texas remains a Republican-led state.
I think in short, he said, Mr. O'Rourke can come and take it. Is that right? Alan, thank you again for having us and your hospitality. Thank you, Wilson County, for opening your arms to us. Thank you so much for all being here. Again, Mr. Guillen and his family, we welcome you with open arms, the Republican Party. With that, y'all have a blessed, wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks for sticking with us here on KXAN Live. I'm Will Dupree, coming to you from the KXAN Live studio. We've been listening in as an event was held in Floresville, Texas, where State Representative Ryan Guillen is announcing he's leaving the Democratic Party to join the Republicans here in the state and run as a Republican next year for his House district there in South Texas. He was joined today by House Speaker Dade Phelan, as well as Governor Greg Abbott. Governor Abbott announcing there at the end that he, quote, welcomes the challenge to face Beto O'Rourke in the governor's race next year. Beto O'Rourke announced earlier this morning that he is jumping into the governor's race and challenging Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott there going after him on a number of issues, kind of previewing at least how he sees fighting against Beto during the upcoming race. And this is only the beginning as we continue to see the primary season begin for Texas gubernatorial race that will be decided next year. We have more coverage about Beto O'Rourke's announcement earlier today over on our website, KXAN.com, and on the KXAN News app. Our own Maggie Glenn here at KXAN got the very first TV interview with Beto and has that shared in full on our website too, so you can watch it there as well. We thank you all again for watching our stream. I'm going to wrap this up now. I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN Live studio. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you back here another time. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Please stay safe and take care, and we'll talk to you again.